At this year's Northside Festival, thousands of music lovers will congregate at Williamsburg's McCarran Park for shows by artists like Against Me, Heems, and The Very Best. To ensure that none of these concert goers will be left drinking the standard swill typically served up at music festivals, we've partnered with Jameson Irish Whiskey and Captain Lawrence Brewing Company, a craft brewer based out of Elmsford, New York, about 20 miles north of the city, to put together a selection of top-notch, locally made craft beers. Today, I'll be traveling around Brooklyn and Queens with Captain Lawrence Brewmaster Scott Vaccaro to visit some local breweries and taste some of the best beers being made here. Together, we'll choose a few light and summery, but also hugely flavorful options that we think will be the perfect accompaniment to a day spent outdoors listening to live music. Our first stop is at Finback Brewery in Ridgewood, Queens. The brewery's cavernous space in a very quiet residential neighborhood has been open for just over a year, and they've become known for their wide range of high-quality brews, from sessionable wit beers to high-impact imperial stouts. We met with their sales manager, Ian Murray. So let's start tasting some beers here. You want to start with the Kolsch?
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. So this is a beer we brewed for the summer season. First Light. It's an American-style Kolsch. A little different than a typical Kolsch. It's dry hopped.
That's a nice summer thirst quencher for sure. I definitely could see throwing a few of these back while listening to some tunes.
Yeah, totally.
So the next guy is it's our year-round IPA. It's called Finback IPA. This is 7.2%. Tons of fruit notes: melon, pineapple, definitely some peach. I think it's a deceptively smooth 7.2%, and equally as refreshing as like a Kolsch style. It's got a nice hot bite without being too overpowering.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, that's good beer.
That's nice.
Double Sesh or Double Session is our other flagship beer, and it's a 4.8% wit beer that we brew with chamomile, ginger, and Szechuan peppercorn. So it's definitely a pretty unique take on a really traditional style.
I feel like this is the first of your beers that really caught on. I feel like this is the one I was hearing about the earliest.
Yeah, the nose is a lot more intense than the flavor. I mean, it's got a huge big nose, and the flavors are really nicely melded together.
Okay, so these are the three that we would consider for the festival. These other three over here, which are darker and scarier looking in general, these are three that you just kind of want to show off a little bit.
Sure. Okay, so these next three, we'll start with the first one. This is Auspicious Day. We just celebrated our first full anniversary of taproom being open, us being in production and everything, 2 weeks ago. So for that day, we released this beer.
Congratulations.
Cheers.
Hey,
Cheers. So this is a triple
Hello.
IPA, 10.2%, so it's clocking in a pretty big ABV, ton of hops.
A lot of hop in there. That's nice.
Next guy is Plum and Proper on Brett, which was a sour beer we brewed, and then red wine barrel aged with Brett.
I get a lot of that oaky red wine type notes in there. That's nice.
Next guy is our BQE, which is an imperial chocolate coffee stout. So it's the extra coffee version. Again, this was a beer we tapped for our first anniversary party.
That is
And
definitely coffee.
Yeah.
So you'll be barrel aging some of this too?
Yes, so this is in bourbon barrels right now. I'm not sure the release date finally, but I want to say probably around the holidays.
After spending some time with Ian at Finback, we headed to Brooklyn, where we visited with Sam Richardson at Other Half Brewing. This local brewery has drawn a huge amount of attention on both a local and national scale for their incredibly impressive lineup of hoppy beers. With IPAs ranging from sessionable to anything but, they're the most notable success story in all of New York City's craft beer scene. Owner and brewmaster Sam Richardson was kind enough to sit down and walk us through a few of his creations.
Number one is Boogie Board Stunts, which is a collaboration beer we did with Bunker Brewing from Portland, Maine. It's a Kolsch with Mandarin, Bavaria hops, and Mosaic.
It's big and bright and fruity.
We use a lot of finishing hops. The hop character comes off a lot stronger. So this is Forever Ever, our session IPA. It's about 4.7% ABV. It's about 55 IBUs. It's brewed with Zaka, Urilo, and Mosaic hops. The beer has a lot of Zaka in it, which is, I think has kind of like a melony, tropical fruit character to it. Sometimes I think it almost comes across like watermelon. That's awesome.
It's a good festival beer.
Our only year-round beer, which is the Other Half IPA. This one's about 7% alcohol. It's got a little bit more of a malt character to it than most of our IPAs. And it's brewed with Cascades, Summits, Chinook, Centennial, and Simcoe. It's a little more. It's a
dank.
Yeah, it's pretty dank. It's still a little more balanced. I mean, basically, we beefed up the malt character of it to go with the dank hops.
A little bit of like medium crystal and toasted. Is there any toasted malt in there? A little Vienna or something?
A little bit of special aromatic. I think as it's probably our most approachable IPA in terms of it actually is good with food. Whereas some of them are just really bright and fruity and not as.
That's a versatile beer, man.
This is probably our most versatile IPA.
All right, so let's move on to the what we keep calling the show-off beers, the kind of bigger ones that we absolutely could not release on a music festival.
This is All Green Everything, which is our 10.5% triple IPA. It has Motueka, Amarillo, Citra, and Mosaic hops. Yeah, this is definitely our most popular beer.
Yeah. Our final stop for the day is Threes Brewing in Gowanus. Having launched less than a year ago, Threes has an impressive range of beers with a focus on saisons and farmhouse ales, but also a knack for more of-the-moment pale ales and IPAs. Brewmaster Greg Dorosky poured us samples of some of his beers.
We lined up a bunch of beers for you to try today, kind of give you a peek to our portfolio and whatnot, and hopefully we find a beer you like.
Yep, sure we will. So let's start with the first one.
All right, so the first beer is our Table Saison. It's 4.2% alcohol. I think the best way to think about it is like a Belgian-style wheat beer, grisette, Saison, kind of hybrid-y type thing.
Nice hop note to it as well.
It does. We do give it some a pretty decent Whirlpool hop addition. It's a Saz and Select hops, so you'll notice some similarities between this and our Pils. But I think the kind of the esters from the Belgian Saison yeast are kind of the star here. Mm-hmm. That with kind of the wheat in the background. Next one is the Pilsner. So this is Vliet Pils. It's a German-style Pils, kind of hoppier Pils. Same hops as the table beer Saison. Nice, dry, 5% alcohol.
Again, a nice malt backbone to it, though.
Yeah, it does. I think it probably pushes the limits a little bit on the Pils category.
Toward what?
Maybe towards like a Helles a little bit, but then it has the hoppiness that I get.
Hops are there.
Yeah, the hops are definitely there.
Nice. You drink that one all day,
right?
I have.
That's what we call quality control. Right?
Exactly, right? So the next one we're going to try is Here You Go Pale Ale. I guess the best way to think about this is Pale Ale as IPA light. It's hopped really, really aggressively. Late hop additions, so you don't have the bitterness. Big Whirlpool additions, big dry hop additions.
Lemon.
There's some lemony stuff going on. This one is hopped with Citra and Calypso, with a little bit of El Dorado in there.
Okay. Go back to the table beer for a second.
Okay.
Can you talk a little bit about how this beer interacts with food?
So I think Saison in general pairs really well with food. It's really dry, kind of keeps you coming back for more. It's very refreshing. This one definitely falls into the category of kind of complementing whatever you're eating, and it's not going to really like compete with anything that you have on the table.
Right. Okay, so these are the three beers that we could see like conceivably working in the outdoor music festival setting.
Yep.
And then these other two that we have over here are less, perhaps less practical for that kind of setting, but
Yeah.
probably awesome nonetheless.
This is our Arboretum Pale Ale.
Right.
So I think just as Here You Go is kind of Pale Ale as IPA light, this kind of pulls back and it's more of, I guess, what you would say a traditional Pale Ale. This is actually a mixed ferment beer, so we brew it with both Saccharomyces and Brett in the primary. So some of those aromatics you're actually getting from the interaction of the Brett and the hops together.
Right, so move on to our last one here.
So the last one we have is Super Fucking Yawn, it's called. We actually brewed this beer as a joke. We got a bunch of mosaics at the end of last year on the spot market, and figured we would kind of brew a beer that was somewhat critical of the double IPA category, which tends to be a little bit one-dimensional and just kind of hops in your face. We call this an Imperial Pale Ale, just again to kind of be snarky.
At the end of the day, after many beers and much discussion, Scott and I came up with a list that we're both really proud of. From Finback, we went with their Double Session Wit Beer for its creamy texture and its complex and refreshing mix of Szechuan peppercorns and chamomile. From Other Half, we'd have been remiss to choose anything but their flagship Other Half IPA, a hugely hoppy, perfectly executed take on a style that remains synonymous with craft beer. From Threes, we decided to go for their Vliet Pilsner, an easy-drinking but slyly challenging and insanely delicious version of a style everyone knows and loves. Rounding out the selection, we're bringing in Kelso Brewing's Nut Brown Lager for anyone looking for a darker but still not heavy option. And then finally, one of Scott's own beers will be available. His Captain Lawrence Captain's Kolsch, a gently hopped, slightly fruity lager that does really well in warm weather. We hope you enjoy these beers as much as we do, and that you'll drink them not only at this year's Northside Festival, but for the rest of the year as well. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. We encourage you to get out and visit these breweries, and the many others that have been popping up here lately, to discover how much amazing beer is really being made in this city right now. Thank you to everyone who participated, and to Jameson for making all of this possible. We'll see you at the festival.